Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts on a hot and humid day in New Jersey. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I hope you'll consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and professional writing needs. Momentarily, I will be joined by Fitz Koehler for a discussion on health during hardship. As with any guest who is discussing a medical issue, I want to remind all viewers that before starting any medical procedure or regimen, they should consult with a qualified medical professional, because what works for one person will not necessarily work for all persons. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high-net-worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at info@pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Fitz, welcome to the show.
Oh, Bruce, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
As am I. Please take a moment or two and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So Fitz Koehler, I am most importantly a fitness expert. I have a master's degree in exercise and sports sciences. I've been teaching around the globe for 30 plus years, and mostly via TV, radio, books, magazines. Mass media is my specialty because that allows me to make a massive impact. I also do a ton of corporate presentations, keynotes, and my mission is to help people live better and longer by making fitness understandable, attainable, and fun. I'm also a professional race announcer, so I man the start and finish lines of some of America's largest and rowdiest road races, from the Big Sur Marathon to Buffalo Marathon, Fargo Marathon, the Donna in Florida. I keep busy making happy noise for people who show up to go the distance. And then I'm also the author of the Cancer Comeback series. And I had to tango with cancer myself in 2019 and 2020. It wasn't a heck of a lot of fun, but I was able to make lemonade by utilizing my experiences and my expertise to help others get closer to remission and hopefully prevent a recurrence.
I chuckled because for an instant, I thought you were going to say that lemonade helped you.
No. Hey,
that would be pushing it.
That's a good start, because there will be no gimmicks discussed here. I am anti-gimmick, anti-quick fix, anti anything other than evidence-based behaviors that improve your chances of living long and living well.
Excellent. Now, everyone who comes on this program and is involved with fitness, I always ask them the same question. What is the best time of day to exercise?
Whenever you're willing to get it done. There's a perk to doing it in the morning, because once you have it done, then nothing in your day can corrupt your game plan for exercise. But I exercise. I was on the treadmill last night at 8:30 p.m. Whatever works for you, works for me. Just get it done.
Good answer. Now, I like our topic because what you chose, which is health during hardship.
Correct.
That would imply that the two are not mutually exclusive. You can have health and you can have hardship.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, what I find is folks going through any sort of crisis, whether it be disease or injury or divorce or, I don't know, struggles at work, the first thing they do is they give up their exercise routine, and then they start eating garbage as though that's the solution. Oh, I had a bad day. I'm going to go have lots of alcohol. I'm going to eat extra because I had a bad day and I deserve it. And so if your house burns down, sad for you, sad for your house, go for a walk around the block while you boohoo about it. Don't go to the local bar or restaurant and gorge. When you're in a crisis, the most important thing to focus on is your health, because if your health goes to pot, absolutely everything else on earth gets worse.
On a day and you mentioned it, and you have it as well in Florida, where there's 100-degree temperature and 1,000-degree humidity, and I don't want
Right,
to writing in and telling me that they can't have 1,000%
right.
humidity. I know that it's a
Yeah,
joke. Get a life.
right.
Don't hear anything bad about ice cream or sherbet.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear heat and people start talking about, how that affects their health, I think, okay, well, you've got a few options there. Number one, you could exercise in the water. That's a great choice. This is the perfect time of year to get in the ocean, a river, a lake, a stream, your pool. I don't care. You could exercise at a cooler portion of the day. You could get up early and go for a 6 a.m. hike in the woods with your dog, or do something wonderful outdoors at 8 p.m. with some off bug protection on, right? Or you can use this modern thing. Bruce, I'm sure you've never heard of it, but it's called air conditioning. That's right. You can just exercise indoors the same way we hide from the snow or a major storm. Exercising indoors is always a great option.
I actually got rid of my air conditioning
Woo.
because it was just too cold. But I purchased cooling fans, and I got the idea because I walked into a restaurant here, and the temperature was it was unbelievably hot. All right, because the food preparation area was a few feet from the reception area, but they had this cooling fan that was blowing on the customers, and it was very good. So I bought two, and I use them, and they're excellent except for one thing: they do not remove humidity.
Okay.
But you're right, you can, and I've seen people jog. We had a few years back a hurricane here. Let me paint the picture for you. 100-mile-an-hour winds. Roadblocks set up by the police. Anything that was not literally tied down, including tree branches, were flying through the air. And yet, at least one person who I saw was jogging.
Yeah.
Ironically, I have not seen anybody out running or even walking after, let's say, 7 a.m.
Hmm. Oh, you mean you're talking about because of the heat right now?
because of the heat.
I gotta tell you, I mean, it's just wise. It's just wise. I was training for the Boston Marathon a few years ago, and I had to do it in the summer. So Boston normally takes place in April on Patriots Day, but this year, because of the COVID nonsense, it was October something in 21. And yeah, so I had to train through the Florida summer and went out for a couple of weekends in a row on I think a Saturday morning, got out early, 7 a.m. in a partially wooded trail to do, first it was 10 miles and then it was 12 miles. And the day I went out for the half marathon, I went out 6.6 miles in one direction. And the second I turned around, I started puking. And I probably stopped to puke about 10 times between that turnaround and the car. And it was, makes you loopy, right? And I had water and I had Gatorade, but I was really working against such incredible forces of nature that at some point I was lying on the trail asking, there was an alligator growling nearby, and I said, "Eat me," and it didn't. But yeah, my fitness expert thing kicked in at probably a mile 11 with 2 miles to go, and I thought, oh no, this is heat exhaustion. I have heat exhaustion, and for a lifelong Floridian, shame on me for putting myself in that position. So I moseyed back to my car. I was very grateful to sit my butt down in the air conditioning, sat with a drink, and I committed myself never to make such a foolish mistake again. I mean, this heat is oppressive. It's real. I love the heat. I love it, but it's also not a great choice for vigorous exercise. So folks need to continue exercising like we were talking about during hardship. You just got to get it done. And thanks to being 2024, most people have access to an air-conditioned room for exercise, whether it's a basketball gym or a fitness center or their living room. yeah, you got to be careful, and hydration and avoidance of the heat at the hottest part of the day is important.
I lived in Israel for 13 years.
Cool.
And they beat it into you
Yeah.
that even if you don't think you're thirsty, even if
Yeah.
you feel fine, doesn't mean a thing.
Yep.
Still have to drink a glass of water every hour.
Yeah, and sunscreen for all, even if you have dark, 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 black or brown skin. It's still skin, and you're still in harm's way. So hydration and sun protection, essential.
I was in the hospital many years ago, 30 years ago, come to think of it, 28 years ago. And I had stomach surgery. It was not fun. And the first 3 days, they give you morphine, and then you get extra strength Tylenol. And morphine is a very nice drug.
Sure.
The gentleman who was in the bed next to mine asked for his morphine, as we all did. And he then said to the nurse, I can still feel pain. And she said, yeah, we want you to feel pain, because that's the only way we can tell if something's wrong. But if you don't feel anything, there's no way of knowing if something's gone wrong. Now, that was physical. But I think it's the same for mental. And if you're not feeling pain, call it depression, then you might not realize that you have, for lack of a better word, a psychological problem. So what is the connection between physical fitness and overcoming mental health? I don't want to say issues, let's say discomfort.
Okay, so I'm going to start by saying I'm not a psychiatrist. However, there are endless studies show that physical activity is a solution for feeling down, feeling sad, feeling depressed, feeling stressed. It's a positive way to vent your body of those toxic feelings. It's a wonderful distraction, and it actually helps you release awful energy. In fact, people who exercise are proven to be a little happier, a little better in spirits, have a little more energy, be able to manage their mental and personal crises better than those who are sickly, right? So if we're going to choose to go into battle of any sort, whether it be an argument or, we're trying to escape the hurricane, whatever it is, would you rather be John Cena or Pee Wee Herman? I'll take John Cena any day. Now, he's an extreme example, which is why I chose him. But yeah, we look at that guy and he can do anything, right? He can do anything. And so physical fitness is essential. People who do not exercise are more likely to be depressed. They're more likely to consume alcohol and other drugs. They're likely to overeat. And because of that, they're less likely to sleep well. And when you don't sleep well, you certainly are not likely to get up and exercise, and you're not going to have the sunniest disposition, and it's the house of cards just keeps toppling down when you're not treating your body with respect. And so, eating wisely, exercising regularly in a variety of ways, getting quality sleep, that has tremendous benefits for mental health. Now, is it the be all end all solution for everyone? Absolutely not. Certainly there are doctors and counselors for those things, but yeah, you're far more likely to have a better day, be in a better mood if you are someone who exercises regularly. And it doesn't have to be running a marathon or, I don't know, doing Krav Maga. It could be whatever you like to do. It could be ballroom dancing. It could be tennis or pickleball. It could be, underwater basket weaving. I don't care, but just get out and get moving. There's things called dopamine and endorphins that start flowing through your body and making you feel better. So there's a very, very, very direct connection between physical health and mental health.
Underwater basket weaving?
Sure. It's all the rage. I think
All the rage. Well, I would have said pickleball a few months back, but okay.
There's a lot of good choices out there. Again, I don't really care what people do. I just want them to do it. There's 4 pillars of fitness. As long as you're participating in those 4, then game on. You're doing something great.
Okay, since you raised it, what are the 4 pillars?
4 pillars of fitness. Now, this is great because they're essential. So if you are a marathon runner, but you can't do 5 push-ups, are you fit? Bruce, do you think if you can run a marathon, but you can't do 5 push-ups, are you fit?
In some ways, yes.
In some ways, but you're not right. You don't qualify as fit. If you are a bodybuilder who can't scratch his own back or touch his toes, are you fit?
Based on what you just said, no.
No, no. If you're a yoga instructor who's super bendy but can't climb 3 flights of stairs without sucking wind, you're not fit. And so cardiorespiratory fitness is number 1. That's a type that makes you huff and puff. That's your stamina, your endurance, focusing on your heart and lungs, which are 2 very, very important organs. And then there's strength. Your total body strength, not just your biceps or your abs. This is your ability to press, push, pull, and lift against resistance. Your legs, your neck, your back, all of these body parts matter, and you should be able to push, press, lift, and pull against resistance without injury. 3rd pillar of fitness is flexibility. That's your body's ability to move in all the directions it's supposed to move. Your shoulder girdle moves in a 360-degree angle for your arm. You should be able to go through that whole range of motion without having a sprain, strain, or tear. If you're not flexible, you may not be able to, and you'll be more susceptible to injuries. And then the last pillar of fitness is believe it or not, one of the most important is balance training. And Bruce, how come we do balance training?
Oh, I happen to know the answer to this.
Let's hear it.
I had 30.
No, just give me the answer. What's the answer to balance training? Why do we do it?
Oh, why do we do it?
Why do we do it?
Because you'll fall down if you.
That's right. So we don't fall down. And falling down as a little kid was not such a big deal. But if you fall down as a grown-up, could be a very big deal. First of all, humiliating. But skull fractures, nose breaks, splitting your eye open, broken hips, all of those things can be catastrophic to a grown-up. And if you're a senior citizen, you're significantly at higher risk for death because of a simple fall. So strength, cardio, flexibility, balance, those are the 4 pillars of fitness, and everybody should be pursuing each at some level.
Agreed. Now, when you have a physical health issue, we'll use cancer as the example, but it could be any physical, serious, life-threatening disease, sickness. Along with that, with the physical, you're going to have depression.
Right.
If you have family and friends who are with you and they are scared for you, they are depressed because of what you're going through, they can project that negativity onto you, which, as far as I'm concerned, isn't all that healthy.
Right.
So how do the people who care about the person who is sick control their emotions so that they don't negatively impact their loved one?
So I'll answer that question, but I'm going to flip it first. It's important for all of us to control the things we can and let go of the things we can. And the things we can control are our own actions, our own behaviors. And so I couldn't control the fact that I had cancer. I could have controlled the fact that I had chemo and so forth, but I wanted to live. So I took those doctors' recommendations, right? I did have stress. I did have a lot of fear, and I probably cried every day. It was 15 months of chemo with the other treatments blended in. It was very stressful. I mean, all the things that were going wrong with me all the time. So I'd cry, I'd let it out 15 minutes later, and then I just said, okay, it's time to get on with it. And so if I were stuck in bed, I'd make the best of that situation. Sometimes I would do leg lifts or bridges for my low back while in bed. If I was in the shower, I would do stretches and so forth. Cancer, MS, Parkinson's, so many of these diseases lead to physical decline. And the weaker you get, the more likely you are to have more hardships, right? So how do we maintain strength? That's something we can control. Could I do it at the level I was doing it before I started treatment? Absolutely not. But could I do something? Yes. If you're in the hospital and you have surgery and your doctor says you can get up and walk around the hallway, that's better than just lying there. So there are things that you can control. I found it interesting when I was diagnosed. The first thing people told me is, oh my gosh, you have cancer. You need to hide out. And this is before even the COVID thing. People are just germ freaks. Oh my God, you can't leave the house. You have to wear a mask. And I just thought, you know what? We only isolate prisoners. Have you lost your mind? I have done nothing wrong. I am not contagious. So I'm going to go out. And I continued on with my career, and I spent time with my kids. And I boarded over 30 planes out of Gainesville, Florida, to travel across the country to speak and host races. And I hugged thousands of germy, sweaty strangers, and my life was better for it. So I controlled that. And so when people said things to me that were off kilter, I just decided to ignore those things. You know, upon diagnosis, people would come up and say, oh, do you know my mom died of that? Or my sister died of that? And I'd say, oh, wow, thanks. That helps. Not really, but you have to have a great sense of humor. And then when people are, to answer your question very specifically, when people are imposing on you and they're projecting their fears and their concerns, sometimes you just have to say, enough. I appreciate you. You've been heard. And I'm going to continue making my own decisions. I mean, you're in charge of you, right? There's things we can control, things we can't. And you can only tolerate so much nonsense. And so if somebody's giving you bad advice or pressuring you when you're already in a sticky situation, say, no, thank you. And if you continue on, we won't be able to spend time together anymore. So I appreciate your concern. You've been heard.
You have a variety of activities. You mentioned some. You're an author, you're a speaker, you are a race announcer. And at first I thought that meant like motor cars.
Oh yeah, a lot of people make that
When
comparison.
you said something about the races that you were doing, say, wait a minute, those are people races. Those are not vehicular races.
Although I'd love to announce a NASCAR. That would be a top 10 list of things for me to do. I'd love to do auto racing.
I'm sure if anybody can find a way to do it, you're the woman who can do it.
Thank you.
How important is it? You know, they say variety is the spice of life. How important is it to have different things going on? Basically, how important is it to keep busy with activities that interest you?
I mean, golly, it's everything. You know, some people, it's interesting. I went to the John Deere plant in Iowa a couple of years ago. They gave me this VIP tour, and it was fascinating. It was very impressive to see this American company, how it moves and how it roars, right? But there were some people doing certain things, and all they did every day for 30 years was that very same thing. And I admire it. I admire that they can do that and they can bring a stable income to their family and feel good about that. I could not. I have to be engaged. I have to be challenged. That's really important to me, that I try things I'm bad at or I struggle, you know. So each race I go, I'm really good at race announcing and I'm pretty good at speaking. However, each race provides me a new location, a new hurdle with weather, a new amount of runners. Some have dog races, some have baby races, some have kids races. Some of them are highly competitive with the fastest people in the world. And then some of them have a bunch of wonderful slowpokes. And so that challenges me to use different sides of my personality, different forms of humor, because you talk to the super fast people very differently than you talk to the super slow people. Slow people just want to party the whole way. You know, the fast people, they have got business to take care of. So I'm challenged in those ways. You know, each keynote, each presentation I do is completely different than the last. It may share some elements, but I love the fact that it's a new audience and they need to hear their own special message. So it's very important for me to stay challenged. You know, writing these books was something that was, I think writing is one of my talents, but each book it's a lot of work in a variety of ways. It really recruits your brain in so many different capacities. So it's essential to me. And gosh, I love being challenged. I love the new thing. And if somebody invites me to do something I've never done before, I never hesitate to say yes. I always say yes first, and then I figure it out and work to live up to that challenge.
That was a great segue to my next to last question.
Okay.
When you do something that you've never done before,
Yeah.
or when you succeed at doing something that you are not good at, whatever it could be, you're creating neural pathways
Yep.
in the brain. How important is that to overcoming a health crisis?
Oh my gosh, so essential. It's interesting when throughout my chemo, my memory got worse and worse by the day. It was times where sometimes I would ask my kids, I would say, "Did you do your homework?" Yes. 3 minutes later, "Hey, have you done your homework?" Yes. 3 minutes later, "Hey, don't forget to do your mom. You've asked me 3 times. I just couldn't keep track." I lost 15 credit cards during my treatment, constantly losing things. And so, as someone who runs a business and I have to be firing on all cylinders, my brain, the way it functions, is of incredible importance to me. And so I do things to challenge myself. I've got the Wordle on the phone. I have some crossword puzzles. I started taking guitar lessons last summer because that's very challenging, and it certainly works your brain. I was invited to competing in a Dancing with the Stars competition, and I knew that would be tricky because I would have to memorize footwork and so forth. And so my brain is something I'm very concerned about. And you can be proactive. People used to think once you lost lack of a better word, a brain cell, then it was gone. But no, you can regenerate your brain through practice, through effort, through time. And then, of course, I have things like walnuts, which are good for your brain. So, constantly hitting my body in all directions with good stuff, trying to keep not only my physical health, but my mental health and my cognitive function. Being old sounds great. I really want to live a long time, but who wants to get to be 80 or 90 when you feel so bad and your body won't do the things it wants to do, or you can't remember anything? Those are things that are tragic, right? But there's so much we can control, and it really breaks my heart to see people just deprioritize their health completely. Oh, I have kids, I can't exercise. No, you have kids, you better exercise. You brought them into the world. You are obligated to love them and guide them for as long as you can. If you take crap care of your health and you die young of, type 2 diabetes or a stroke or a heart attack because you failed to preserve your health, that's on you. That's screwing your kids. So don't use them as an excuse. Don't use anything as an excuse. And when you're diagnosed with something very scary, I tell you what, nothing becomes more clearer than your emphasis on health. When you have ALS, all you're wishing for is health. That's it. You don't care about your boat. You don't care about the fancy car. You don't care about being someone's friend. All you care about is, Jesus Christ, how do I get my health back? And so I want everybody to prepare their body to do battle today, because you never know when illness or injury will strike. And if you are strong and fit going into any sort of physical or mental crisis, you will be so much more likely to rebound and recover fully and efficiently than if you hadn't been taking care of yourself. So I'm very pointed, Bruce. I know this, and I speak very passionately, but because I know better and I care. And sometimes I feel like I have to poke people in the chest and give them a shake to convince them that their health is worth maintaining and working towards. And no matter how far off the rails you've got, maybe you're obese right now, maybe you have a bad back, you can get it back. You can be fitter than you are today, and you should make that effort.
I'm going to share your contact information.
Yes.
And before I let you go, first, I want to thank you profusely. This has been very informative, and I would dare say important, and I thank you for taking the time to come on. But I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Is there anything I did not ask you that you wish I had asked you? And if I had asked you, what would you have said?
So, how do people connect with me? So not only can they see those links, they know that Fitzness, Fitzness.com is my home base, but I want them to connect with me. If people have questions, if they have concerns, physical, and they're looking for some guidance, if you follow me on Instagram, I promise quality content. However, I'd much rather have friends than followers, and I would much rather have a direct impact on your existence. So feel free to reach out and say hello and ask your favorite fitness question. And, I might answer it on Instagram or Facebook, or maybe I'll answer it in my podcast, The Fitzness Show. But yeah, I desperately love connecting with people, Bruce. So thank you for sharing your audience with me.
Well, it is my pleasure. I thank you, and I wish you the very best. I'm Bruce Hurwitz. Thank you for watching. And as always, please stay focused on success.